Imagine standing on a hill overlooking an ancient city. The sun is setting, painting the sky with shades of gold and crimson. Below you lies a palace so beautiful that travelers from across the world journey thousands of miles just to see it. But this isn't just a palace. This is the story of a place that changed the destiny of an entire nation. Welcome to the story of the Alhambra. More than 700 years ago, Spain was very different from the country we know today. Large parts of the Iberian Peninsula were ruled by Muslim kingdoms. Cities flourished with science, architecture, poetry, and trade. Among these kingdoms stood the Emirate of Granada, the last great Muslim stronghold in Spain. At the heart of Granada rose a fortress unlike anything Europe had ever seen. Its walls glowed red under the setting sun, giving it the name Alhambra, meaning the Red One. But behind those walls was not merely a fortress. It was a masterpiece. The rulers of Granada dreamed of creating paradise on earth. They hired the greatest architects, artists, engineers, and craftsmen of their age. Stone was carved into delicate lace-like patterns. Water flowed through elegant fountains and gardens. Arabic poetry covered the walls like a permanent song frozen in time. Every room told a story. Every courtyard whispered a secret. Every fountain reflected the ambition of an empire fighting against time itself. Visitors entering the palace felt as though they had stepped into another world. One of the most breathtaking places was the Court of the Lions. 12 marble lions supported a magnificent fountain. Water flowed quietly through carefully designed channels, creating a peaceful atmosphere even during times of political uncertainty. Yet beyond the beauty, danger was always present. Granada was surrounded by powerful Christian kingdoms that had slowly been reclaiming territory across Spain. For centuries, battles raged between Muslim and Christian rulers. Kingdoms rose and fell. Alliances formed and broke apart. The Alhambra stood at the center of this struggle. Inside the palace, rulers discussed military strategies, negotiated alliances, and planned the future of their kingdom. Every decision made within those walls carried enormous consequences. As years passed, the Christian kingdoms became stronger. Then two powerful monarchs emerged. Their names were King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. Together, they united major parts of Spain and launched a mission that would reshape history forever. Their ultimate target was Granada. The rulers inside the Alhambra knew what was coming. The kingdom's resources were shrinking. Political divisions weakened leadership. Enemies surrounded them. Still, the palace remained a symbol of hope. The people of Granada looked up at the shining walls and believed their kingdom could survive. But history was moving in a different direction. By the late 15th century, Christian armies had surrounded Granada. The city faced immense pressure. Food became scarce. Fear spread through the population. Inside the Alhambra, the last Muslim ruler of Granada, Muhammad XII, often called Boabdil, faced an impossible choice. Should he continue fighting and risk destroying the city? Or surrender and save his people? The decision weighed heavily upon him. Imagine walking through those magnificent halls knowing that your kingdom's final chapter was about to be written. Imagine hearing the fountains flow while armies gathered outside the walls. Imagine realizing that centuries of history were coming to an end. Finally, in 1492, the moment arrived. The keys to Granada were handed over. The last Muslim kingdom in Spain surrendered. As Boabdil left the city, legend says he stopped on a nearby hill and looked back one final time at the Alhambra. The palace that had represented centuries of power now belonged to new rulers. Many believed it was simply the end of a kingdom. But in reality, it was the beginning of something much bigger. Because what happened next would transform Spain, and eventually the entire world. Before we continue, if you're fascinated by hidden history, lost kingdoms, and incredible true stories, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss the next adventure. The story of the Alhambra was far from over. In fact, its greatest impact was only just beginning. When King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella entered the Alhambra in 1492, they inherited more than a palace. They inherited a turning point in history. The fall of Granada marked the completion of the Reconquista, the centuries-long campaign through which Christian kingdoms regained control of Spain. For the first time in generations, most of Spain was united under a single Christian monarchy. This unity changed everything. The victory gave Ferdinand and Isabella enormous prestige, wealth, and confidence. They believed Spain was entering a new era. And in that very same year, a man arrived with an unusual proposal. His name was Christopher Columbus. Many rulers had rejected his idea. He wanted funding to sail west across the Atlantic Ocean in search of a new route to Asia. The plan seemed risky. Some thought it was impossible. Others believed it was madness. But after the victory in Granada, Ferdinand and Isabella finally had the resources and confidence to consider bold new ventures. The agreement was made. Columbus received support. And from Spain, he launched the voyage that would forever change global history. Think about that for a moment. The same year the Alhambra changed hands, the voyage that connected Europe and the Americas began. One event helped make the other possible. This is why historians often view 1492 as one of the most important years in world history. The palace was no longer merely a symbol of Granada. It had become part of a much larger story. A story about exploration, empire, discovery, and transformation. As Spain expanded overseas, enormous wealth flowed into the kingdom. Spanish influence spread across continents. New trade routes emerged. Entire civilizations encountered one another in ways never seen before. The world became more connected than ever. And all of it happened during a period that began with the fall of Granada. Yet the Alhambra itself survived. Many palaces throughout history were destroyed after conquest. The Alhambra was different. Its beauty was simply too extraordinary to erase. The new rulers admired its architecture. Artists studied its designs. Travelers described it with amazement. Generation after generation became captivated by its elegance. Even centuries later, writers and explorers continued to visit. One of the most famous was the American author Washington Irving. During the 19th century, he stayed within the palace grounds and wrote stories inspired by its history. His writings helped introduce the Alhambra to audiences around the world. Soon travelers from Europe, America, and beyond began making pilgrimages to Granada. They wanted to see the legendary palace for themselves. And when they arrived, many experienced the same feeling. Wonder. The palace seemed to exist outside time. The fountains still flowed. The gardens still bloomed. The intricate carving still covered the walls. Despite wars, political change, and centuries of history, the Alhambra endured. Today millions of visitors walk through its courtyards every year. Some come for the architecture. Others come for the history. Many come searching for the stories hidden within its walls. Because the Alhambra represents something rare. It represents the meeting of cultures. The blending of art, science, faith, and creativity. It reminds us that history is rarely simple. The palace was built by one civilization, preserved by another, admired by many, and shared with the entire world. That is why its story remains so powerful. When people call it the palace that changed Spain forever, they are not exaggerating. The decisions made there influenced the future of a kingdom. The fall of Granada reshaped Spain. The United Monarchy supported voyages that transformed world history. And the palace itself became one of humanity's greatest architectural treasures. Few buildings can claim such an impact. Most palaces witness history. The Alhambra helped create it. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson of all. Sometimes a single place can become the crossroads of civilizations. Sometimes a palace can become a symbol of endings and beginnings at the same time. And sometimes, hidden behind beautiful walls, the future of the world is quietly taking shape. If you enjoyed this journey through one of history's most fascinating landmarks, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and share it with fellow history lovers. Every subscription helps us bring more incredible stories from the past to life. Because history isn't just about what happened. It's about understanding how those moments continue to shape our world today. And few places prove that better than the Alhambra, the palace that changed Spain forever.